Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Rachel Zerin here with a thought for Shabbat. This week we begin the book of Leviticus with Parashat Vayikra. Now, if the book of Genesis is characterized as the book about the creation of the world and the early stories of our first patriarchs and matriarchs, and the book of Exodus is characterized as a book about the foundation of us as a people through the stories of slavery and redemption, receiving the Torah, creating a central space for communal worship in the Mishkan, then the book of Leviticus is often characterized as a book about the priestly worship and sacrificial system. Now, I can imagine what you're already thinking. Well, what does any of this have to do with me? Leviticus goes into so many details about sacrifices and offerings, rituals and rites that were performed by a priestly class, none of which we observe today, nor have we observed for nearly 2,000 years. What then is the value in reading this book now? I'd like to offer another way of thinking about the book of Leviticus. Because while everything I just said is true, Leviticus is also a book about what we should be accountable for and how we hold ourselves accountable. What we should be grateful for and how we express gratitude both privately and publicly. What we should celebrate and both how and with whom we should include in our celebrations, and so many more timeless messages that certainly remain relevant to this day. I'll offer one particular example that I find very moving, coming directly from this week's parasha. In the opening chapters of the book of Leviticus, we read about two sacrifices that are expected to be brought if someone sins unintentionally. If one harms one's fellow person unintentionally or unknowingly, once they become aware of that or are told that they have harmed someone else, there is a sacrifice that is to be brought. And similarly, if one transgresses a sin between themselves and the divine, there is a sacrifice to be brought then too, in order to make amends. Even though the action was not done with the intention to harm. Perhaps it was done out of ignorance or accidentally or completely unknowingly. Still, there is responsibility to be had. Amends have to be made, and are done so by bringing a sacrifice, and by doing so publicly in a central place of worship. How many times have you had a situation where someone says something harmful or does something hurtful, and you express your hurt, and they respond by saying, "Well, I didn't mean to." If it hasn't happened to you, then surely you have heard it happen to someone else. We all can see in these kinds of situations the difference between intent and impact. Someone may not intend to cause harm, but if the impact is harmful, then there is still hurt. The Torah knows this and knows that when hurt takes place, we are all a healthier community, a happier community, a more whole and holy community when the one who caused harm takes responsibility. It alleviates the tension and the hurt between the harmed party and the one who caused harm, and brings a sense perhaps of inner peace to the person who caused that harm in the first place. So much of our contemporary society may tell us, well, if I didn't mean to, then I'm not responsible. But Judaism urges us to push ourselves, to say, even though my intent may have been good, my impact landed differently. And I should take responsibility for that, because that is how we become a whole and holy community. I hope that this brings a little extra meaning to this week's Torah reading and perhaps urges you to look at the entire book of Leviticus in a slightly new way. With that, I'll wish you a Shabbat Shalom.